stand? Are you going to need
Yeah.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, everyone, considering the scheduled meetings of the County. At this time, I would like to ask for comments from the audience on non-agenda items. Mr. Damsky, I know that you wanted to mention something. Come on up. Yes.
John Damsky, 42-year resident, South Tahoe, former employee at SCPD. We won't bring it up. I'm here today to talk to you, a little bugging you about something. As some of you may know, I have been battling the vacation home rental issues with the county supervisors. And I'm here today to ask you as district staff and board members to consider designating or thinking about designating vacation home rentals not as residences but as commercial lodging businesses, which is what they really are by definition. And they're actually issued a business license in the county. The city, I think, does the same thing. And they pay transient occupancy tax. So by all definition, they are actually commercial businesses that are planted in neighborhoods. That being said, the reason I'm here is I understand the district is undertaking a new rate review survey by a company, and you'll be looking at more rate increases down the line for homeowners. I think it's a little unfair to have mom and pop homeowners like myself or regular family homeowners with residences paying the same rates as a commercial lodging business right next door to them. These DHRs often have 10 to 12 persons in them quite a bit of the year if they're popular and they're rented well. So they use your infrastructure and water and sewer and your services a lot more than a regular family would. So when in the future, when you come up, you do your rate review, you come up with some proposed increases for your repairs and new infrastructure, I would hope that you would consider, the district consider designating these vacation home rentals not as residences but as commercial enterprises and build them accordingly, not only for quarterly but for taking more of a percentage of these up and coming rate increases for repairs. Does that make sense? Along with that, we're seeing, well, maybe one in particular, but a few contractors building these, we call them mega mansion VHRs. And these homes have 8, 10, and more bedrooms, and they're specifically designed as a hotel, basically in a residential area. They're built as a vacation home rental, but they're huge. They have a commercial gas meter hooked up to them, or an oversized electric panel over a residential. And I don't know whether your district is allowing them to have more than a 3/4 inch water line, which is what a regular residence takes. But if that's the case, you're condoning, you're allowing these to be residences, but they're really a business. If they have commercial hookups, they are a business. So in the fairness of, in the future, in the fairness of rate increases and quarterly service billings, I hope that you will consider thinking about these properties as a business, and it'll take some of us as mom and pop residents from subsidizing them. Does that make sense? Okay. That's all I got to say. One other thing, the county supervisors and their administration for the vacation home rental program, they got their head in the sand. They are reluctant to call these for what they are. They call them every name in the book, but they're calling them residences or home businesses or 3 or 4 different names. So their head is in the sand on it because they realize that if they call these commercial lodging businesses, they're going to have to special use permit them. And by all definition, if you read TRPA's language on what a special use permit requires, vacation home rentals fit the language perfectly. But everybody's got their head in the sand. But the Chief Alameda, I had a discussion with in the Lake Valley Fire. They're going to be doing inspections on these properties in the future. They haven't come up with an inspection program, but Chief Alameda has stated that they consider these commercial lodging businesses. So that's all I have to say. Think about it in the future. Mom and pops don't want to subsidize these businesses right next door to us by paying the same rates as they do. Thank you.
Thanks, John. As you know, because this was not on the agenda, we can't really have a discussion on this item. But you bring up some interesting points, and I will make it a point to discuss it with staff at some point.
Thank you, man.
So I hope you guys make a couple of comments.
Oh, you put it.
One general comment and one clarification comment. Generally, yes, we can have that conversation with our rate consultant just to get their opinion and their views on that topic. Second, is the clarification comment. I just want to make sure that everybody understands on our water rates, we don't have a different rate structure of residential versus commercial. There may be different line sizes, but the line size doesn't dictate whether it's residential or commercial. It's what is the water needs of the house or the hotel or the commercial business, whatever it is. But they all pay the same rates. The only difference is that size of connection. 3/4 inch connection pays one base charge plus their usage. 1 inch or 1.5 inch connection pays a larger base charge plus their usage. So that's the only difference between the two. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understood there was not a difference in the rate structures.
Thanks, Paul. And John, just to let you know, those really big ones, I think most of those are at least 1.5 inches on the feet. And because they have to have, well, it depends on where they are. They break out the fire thing, and another one too, which has a different structure, but I know they're bigger on that. Anyway, Tim would probably know more than I.
He brings up a good point. There is quite a few larger residents out there that has 3/4 inch services. And as a matter of fact, there's 1 inch fire lines as well.
So they're going 3/4 even on those big ones?
Big ones.
Okay.
Yes.
I guess I was thinking of back before we separated off the fire line, we were doing all on one.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're some of them were going bigger.
Yeah. I mean, basically, we had the customer tell us what size domestic and line they need, and then the fire line size comes from the city or county. That's the service we provide.
Okay, thanks, sir. Does anyone else have any comments on non-agenda items? Okay, let's move on to correction to the agenda or consent calendar.
Make a motion that we approve the agenda and the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
Okay, that passes 5-0. And I guess we're all the way up to item 6A. And Paul, are you going to present this one?
Sure. If you recall from last board meeting, we had discussion about sewer transfers from one parcel to another for the purpose of accommodating affordable housing projects. And at the time, we had developed a draft ordinance, and we were prepared to bring it forward today for adoption. Between last board meeting and this board meeting, we did receive several comments on the draft ordinance, positive comments, but also some good suggestions. The suggestions were mostly addressing some definitions that we had in the ordinance. Specifically what we were defining as affordable housing, and some of the comments that we received was that it was probably too restrictive, and we should just let that definition be defined by the city or county, whoever the permitting agency is. And so we definitely think we could accommodate that. Prior to this meeting, we met with the Affordable Housing Committee, Dwayne and Chris, and we went over the comments that we received, and I think everybody has come to an agreement that yes, we can incorporate most of what we received into our draft and bring it back for approval at the next board meeting. Just a couple other clarification pieces. We also had in our draft ordinance a restriction on the amount of a person's income that could be spent on the housing cost, which is rent, utilities, insurance, etc. And one of the comments we received is that doesn't need to be in our ordinance, because that's typically defined in the deed restriction that's placed on the project by the state or the county if they are receiving subsidization for the project. And then one of the other notable comments, one of the requirements for the transfer, if somebody wanted to transfer all of their sewer units off of one parcel to the other parcel for the project, one of the requirements we have is that the sewer lateral is capped. We discussed that internally, and we assumed that there's not going to be a lot of these projects, in Tahoe. And so since there's probably only going to be a few here and there, instead of requiring the landowner to cap that lateral, the district could cap that lateral, because we want those capped when the sewer units are transferred off the property, because they are a strong source of I&I during the winter time, and so it's in our best interest to cap those laterals ourselves. So that's the third most notable comment, and that's really the majority of the comments that we received. The committee, they may want to express their thoughts on the comments we received, but other than that, there may be some other people in the audience that still want to make some comments on this topic. But like I said, we internally believe that we can incorporate these into the draft ordinance and bring it back and have it ready for you to take action on at the next board meeting.
Okay. Why don't we do this, before we get to the public comments, let's do the committee member comments if you guys want to talk now, and then we can have public comments.
So what we did when we met was went over the comments that we received. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to make this happen. So without repeating what Paul said, I think the simple changes will incorporate most all the projects that we would want to include. And since we don't really have jurisdiction over what is an affordable housing project or workforce housing, I mean, we would only have the wording that would allow us to make that sewer transfer of sewer units so that these projects can move forward. So really there's nothing more to say on that until we actually see one and get to figure out how it goes.
And I wanted to tell Chris, thank you for the work you've done with me on this. Something that, besides fire suppression, was something I felt when I came back to the district very, very important. And I also want to thank Richard and Shannon and Paul and Gary because they really have gone out of the way to not be your typical government agency that's looking for how we can make money off the public, but how we can somehow use our agency to help a community issue. It isn't really in our wheelhouse. And we found a way to do that, and our staff did it. And I received a lot of phone calls, but I was sort of out of commission, so I forwarded them on to Paul. And so Paul has done yeoman's work working on this. But it's a good day to see this happen, and our absolute intent is to try to get the dominoes falling with other government agencies. Everybody wears blinders when it comes to these issues. And we're not, like I said, we're not a housing agency, but we have things we can do to help. Every agency in this basin has something they can do to help. One positive thing that came was we got comments from TRPA, and kind of the last wording they had said, well, we're going to do something too. And so I'm just very pleased to see our staff do this, and hopefully we'll push a little bit and get the other dominoes to fall. And the whole idea is to create a lower basis in what it costs to build affordable housing so that people can afford to build it. And it all comes down to what it costs. A developer can either build condos and make all kinds of money, or right now, build affordable housing and lose money. So if we can find properties that are deeded over or next to free, and we can lower our fees, somebody else can lower their fees, all of a sudden the basis of the property drops, which makes them able to charge lower rents and make money. That's all there is to it. So I would have liked to have made the motion today, but most of the things that I've heard were really good additions and were worthy of waiting a couple of weeks. So as long as whoever's developing knows that this is coming, if there's some project this year, well then I think that's probably okay. So that's it.
Okay, I do think we have some members of the audience that want to comment. You're welcome to come on up.
Hi, my name is Jude Wood. Thank you so much for this ordinance. As the director of the Boys and Girls Club and a member of the Progress to Tahoe group, I'm very concerned about the lack of affordable housing for low-income families. We have a high percentage of homeless youth in our district. I don't know this year's counts, but going by the McKinney-Vento statistics from last year, we had nearly 300 children in our school district who did not have a place to call home every single night. So enabling more affordable housing in our community is an incredible step forward, and I thank you so much for that. Enabling developers to make projects pencil, I think has been the one thing we've been hearing a lot as Progress to Tahoe. That's what they need. Out of Alton Myers, there are currently 3 buildings going up on Apache. They're all ginormous. And I understand it because that is what essentially enables the developer to make money. However, I would love to see more kind of 2-3 bedroom properties that will accommodate my families. Also, I commend you for a positive step. We're seeing a lot of negativity around affordable housing right now, and then a lot of steps being taken that may be economically questionable for our town. And I think this step definitely is not one of those. And finally, I want to do a little plug for the club and take this opportunity to ask you to extend this to not just affordable housing, but also all projects that are for public good. As you may have seen in Paula's wonderful article on South Tahoe Now, we were recently the recipients of a very generous donation. And in 2.5, 3 years' time, I hope to be opening the doors to a brand new Boys and Girls Club. And so I'll be back in front of you, petitioning you for help in that project as well. Thank you.
Thank you. We had another good. This is, see, you guys that don't come to our regular meetings, this is a treat for us. Nobody wants to talk to us, so this is good.
Good afternoon, and thank you for allowing us the opportunity to share a few comments. My name is Heidi Hildrum, and I'm the CEO of the Tahoe Prosperity Center. And I want to, most importantly, this is in regards to the transfer sewer capacity for affordable housing policy, is thank you for your bold leadership and for setting the stage for other organizations, as Dwayne mentioned, to follow. Many of you attended the Housing Tahoe Partnership Kickoff meeting in April. You have been participating, your staff have been participating in work groups in the past 5 months that we've been working on that. And the goal is really to transform Tahoe so that all who want to live, work, and play in this beautiful community can do so, and not have to spend 50% or more of their income on housing. Lowering the cost of building affordable and workforce housing is a significant goal, and you are helping set the stage with this very positive development. It hasn't penciled for years. The only projects that seem to pencil in our community are the very high-end homes and condominium complexes, and that middle workforce for the folks who work at the Boys and Girls Club, for the first-year teacher that didn't get hired at my son's school this year at BG Community because they couldn't find a teacher for the 5th grade. So those are the people we want to encourage to come to our community who can't afford it right now. Only 21% of our local residents can afford the median priced home in our community. 21%. So this will significantly improve the opportunity for new, affordable, and workforce housing projects to be built in our community. And we, again, I just really want to say thank you with significant gratitude for being out front of the other jurisdictions on this matter and helping to promote that, because it is so needed and important. It's a total win-win. These units were paid for already. So transferring them and allowing the transfer for these types of projects is such a positive development. And then finally, we really appreciate you considering the comments that we submitted in between adopting it. I know I wanted it adopted today too, Dwayne. But, you know, allowing the flexibility and, you know, setting the stage. I know that the Tahoe Regional Planning Agency and the city are both looking at adjusting their area median income levels for affordable and workforce housing projects, which will also really help to encourage this type of development in our community. So again, thank you, and enjoy the rest of your meeting.
Thank you. And one more, I guess, huh?
Good afternoon. My name is Doug Williams. I'm the president of South Lake Tahoe Lodging Association, and I'm here on their behalf and want to congratulate you on being the first to make a positive step forward to helping us with our workforce housing. As you can imagine, it's a big concern of ours, being able to find qualified personnel who can afford to live here. And I think I was probably one of the comments that was directed to your staff. For years, I was a mortgage broker. I studied a lot of the things on low and moderate income housing, just so I could get the loans for people that I was doing. One of the things that I found interesting in your draft was that you wanted to either do it using 120% of city or county median income. Well, the city median income, in our area, we have a lot of people who don't declare all their income on their income taxes, whether it be somebody who is self-employed, who have a lot of write-offs, like depreciation and things like that, or if they have tip income. The city median, I think, is $41,000 or somewhere around that. You're going to be hurting a lot of these people by using that number. Even though they can afford more, they can't show they afford that much more, because they're a bartender or they're a food server or something like that, and a good portion of their income is undeclared. So that's one, and plus when you took the 30% in there, that also cuts those people off. They may be able to, on paper, only show $1,200, but they could realistically afford $1,500 a month rent. So that was a couple comments that I had to make to talk to Shannon. Another thing that you may want to consider is how long you're going to be making the restriction. There was a developer on the North Shore who did a project on the North Shore called Domus. And I spoke to their head, and she was head back then, when she was doing Susan Sol's group that formed the just for workforce housing. I think one of you probably were on that. She's known statewide for doing workforce housing. And one of the things that she stressed to me is you can't make you can get interest from the developer, make the what's it called, deed restriction too terribly long. Otherwise, you're not going to get as many qualified developers interested in developing. She felt that in an 8 to 10 year period, you can get more developers interested in developing if the deed restriction is not too long.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I was gonna say, doesn't that kind of defeat the purpose if in 8 to 10 years it falls out of it falls out of the workforce housing and then all of a sudden they're commanding more rents on it?
Well, it depends on what you're going to be using for your workforce housing, because the TRPA is increasing their income by quite a bit. It's above the 120% that you guys were looking for. It's a fine line on whether you keep it for 30 years and you get any developers, or if you try and find a spot where you're going to get enough developers to do the work that we need done.
I see what you're saying. We dipped our toe in the water of trying to put in numbers and things like that, and what it seems like we've come up with is leaving it to the city and county. And so saying less may be better than saying more on our part. Putting numbers in and things like that. The more easy it is to get past us and to the city and county, maybe the better. I don't think, I've thought about that, and I thought, we need to stay out of dealing with the developer and dealing with the deed, and let one or two other agencies that are at a different level. Does that make sense?
Yeah, you probably don't want to have 3 or 4 different agencies checking, okay, are you doing the 30%, are you 120%?
Right, that's what I'm saying. The same thing with the number of years for deed restriction. That's probably not our area. As much as I see what you're saying, because you mentioned you and I use the lady, because they can't afford it. But that's for others to decide, maybe others than us.
Okay, thank you very much.
All right, thank you. Sorry.
I had a phone message from Deb Howard, I guess, on this issue, and she said she was going to try to make it, but I just wanted to pass along her comment she left on the phone, which is basically our definition was too restrictive. Her recommendation is to take a lot of the excess, these extra numbers out of our definition, leave up the city and county to make sure it covers more projects, or as many projects as possible.
Well, that was kind of our original philosophy on this to begin with. We didn't want to be a regulatory agency. We just wanted to be able to, whatever the community decided to do, we wanted to be able to not be an obstacle in that. I think that was the original intent.
And I left a message on her phone. She didn't call me back, but to that effect, that we were just considering it and was coming back in 2 weeks. She thought you were taking the vote today, so she really
Actually, if you kind of camp a little bit, Deb's walking up the walkway right now.
No.
Oh, wait a minute, she's on her phone.
In the break,
I go to the window and
in the break, tomorrow, Deb making another deal. I wanted to make sure Tim got some credit here, because he's the one that gets all the questions about this at the front desk when somebody's coming in trying to see what the fees are in order to make something work or not work. So.
They're always happy with this response.
Of course they are.
So, Deb, were your ears burning? Look at you running.
So, Deb, were your ears burning?
Did you make the sale?
Hi, hello.
Come on up, Steve.
Hi, how are you? Hi, Randy. Deb Howard here on behalf of the South Tahoe Association of Realtors. And I'm sorry I have not heard all of that leading up to this conversation and why I'm here today. But I did want to come and to share with you our deep gratitude, for lack of a better word, for what appears to be moving forward on something that we have been working on for a very, very long time. And so the Association of Realtors and a large group, otherwise known as the Workforce Housing Affordability Task Force, joined by many people that are in the room here today, have worked for, gosh, Dwayne, tell me how long?
Since 88.
88. Okay, that takes us way back. And it is...
You were 10.
Thank you very much. It is an understatement to say that we have deliberated on this a very long time, and that our goal was to do it the right way. And I want to tell you, I think you're doing that. So thank you for your consideration and coming up with solutions for the impediments and the obstructions for building workforce housing in our community, which touches on so many different aspects of the quality of life here. Thank you very much for that. We are working on trying to get rid of the impediments and create incentives, and I think that's what this does. I did have some questions about the mechanics of how this works, but I'll save that for a little bit later.
Just to let you know, Richard brought up what you had left on his, I think it was on voicemail or something.
Sure.
Yeah, we've discussed that a little bit.
And in a nutshell, we're holding it off 2 weeks, but for good reasons. So many comments came forward with good ideas, nothing negative, mostly good, mostly less restrictive. And as we thought about it, it made a lot of sense to not be restrictive, but just to lay it in the hands of city and county who hopefully will do the same thing as we're doing. And so we're looking at that 30% rule. I think that was something you might have worried about, the 120.
Correct. Using the higher of the
Right. And so
the two
we got to think about it, what's that our business? Our business is to, if you guys designated affordable housing, that's good enough for us.
Yeah.
So the less on our part, the better, except to say, okay.
And that's to be applauded. That's unusual in government, as you know. But thank you for that. Again, I have some questions about mechanics, but I'll save that for
Like Dwayne said, we're actually going to go in this probably in 2 weeks.
Right.
Agenda.
Yeah.
So staff has some time to fine tune.
Good.
So, feel free.
Who would you have me talk to?
Probably Paul.
Paul, do you agree to that? I know, it's a large task.
I missed the comment, so I can't say yes.
Paul and Shannon would be the people to talk to you. Would that be right, Richard?
I think Paul is the
I think Paul will that's fine.
Paul's definitely the guy.
Okay, so we've got direction, and I'm looking forward to hearing the rest. I apologize for being tardy.
Oh, we're good.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for coming, Deb. All right, anybody else? Seeing as how, so Chris and Dwayne, kicked in on this, Jim and Kelly, do you guys have anything you want to jump in on this? Okay, so we don't really have a motion on this. We'll just fine tune this thing over the next week or so, and then we'll put it on the next agenda and we'll vote on it. So thank you all for coming. Julie, you're here.
Are you doing?
That's a hard act to follow, but I'll keep it brief. I am here today to request that the board authorize staff to enter an agreement with the city of South Lake Tahoe for reimbursement so that we can perform some storm drain improvement work for them under the Marlette Waterline contract with Thomas Hayne Company. Early in that project, they came to us, actually they didn't come to us, a neighbor came to us and said, there's a real drainage problem in the Marlette Circle area. and they were hoping that we could address it, seeing as the drainage and storm drains are not our purview. We reached out to the city, and they looked into the issue and came up with a concept for improving the drainage in the area, and they asked if we could do the work, since it's a small piece of work and we were already in the area. We said we'd work on that with them, and then they came back and said, well, actually, we got 2 other locations in Tahoe that we'd like to try the same sort of improvement. Would you be willing to work on that for us as well? And so Thomas Paint Company seems amenable to it, and so they gave the city some prices for the work that was being requested. The city said, all right, and so we drew up this reimbursement agreement, $49,877. Did I get that number right? So that's the total for all 3 locations. So with your authorization, we'll go ahead and give Thomas Paint Company direction to complete the work before the end of the grading season, and we'll come to you with a change order for the actual amount completed.
Very good. Any discussion? Yeah. So it's all.
I move that we authorize staff to enter into a reimbursement agreement with the city of South Lake Tahoe to provide storm drain improvements.
That's an import.
Thank you, Julie. Got 5-0 on that. Okay, 2018 case wheel loader purchase. Cliff, you want to tell us all about that?
My pleasure. Well, it's kind of a 2-part session here. Years back, we standardized case and cap for the districts needing the heavy equipment. We did that for several reasons back then. We ended up with some foreign equipment that was very unreliable and actually a bit on the dangerous side to operate. So we got all those out of our system here, out of the fleet, and now we just go case and cap. It's been very reliable. Myself and my crew, we're all factory trained on these two pieces of equipment, either the backhoes or the loaders, skid steers, whatever we have. I'd like to extend this sole source or sole brand for another 5 years and reevaluate at that time and see what else is out there. And then if we can do that, I'd like to move ahead for the purchase of a new wheel loader to replace one that we sent down to our Alpine County facility. They had one of our old ones down there. It's a 1985 case. It's seen its better days, especially in Alpine County where they throw more rocks than they do anything else. So anyway, I had this in budget, came in under budget. I went through the NJPA, or it's Sourcewell now, same company, different name. And I got quotes for the 2, not identical, but close enough units. Slightly larger than we got now to help handle our old snow blower we got. And case came in at $12,670,000. And this is with new snow blades for the equipment also. And the cat came in at $243,455. So I'd like to ask that we, for another 5 years, standardize, and that we go purchase caseload. I think Linda had something she wanted to say.
Just add a little bit here. Just want to speak about the nationwide cooperative purchasing program that we're using for this purchase. And as Ms. Cliff mentioned, it's administered by Sourcewell, that's their new name. They are a self-supporting government organization that partners with education, government, and nonprofits to boost student and community success. This is the second six-figure dollar purchase that we are requesting within the last year. So I thought it was a good time to mention that there has been a shift in purchasing in some of these programs. They are not awarded to the lowest responsible bidder. They go through an RFP process, and that has changed through the years. In the case of this wheel loader purchase, it began with Sourcewell requesting proposals from 85. They received responses from 9, and they awarded to 8. I think that there's actually only 4 of those respondents who would supply a wheel loader in this case. And because we're only using Case and Cat, or that is the intention, we only looked at the 2. Actually, Case came in as the second rated, but Cliff knows what we need. What we need costs less from Case, the second rated, highest rated, versus Cat. So we're going to do our homework. When these come up, I just wanted you to be aware that the purchasing methodology has changed some. For this purchase, Case is providing a 37% discount off list price. I think that's fantastic. I just wanted to mention the RFPs are well advertised. They received many responses, and they're thoroughly reviewed. They save staff time and very likely increase our discount margin. I support the purchase news. I just wanted to make the point that the purchasing methods have changed. I also expect to see, there are a lot of cooperatives out there, so we might see this more often in the future. We've been buying from the state vehicle contract for many, many years. Well, I expect that they're going to be going to this type of method. So what they've been doing the last few years is they've basically awarded to 3 for each type of vehicle. Say, it's a half-ton four-wheel drive truck or something like that, and I'll award to 3. Well, the state has allowed their employees, and we have followed suit, that we will only purchase the tier 1. So those are the lowest responsible bidders. But I think when you look at these associations, they're looking at, we've always wanted to compare apples to apples, not apples to oranges. But really, there's Scalas and Bolton, there's all sorts of apples. And they're all a little bit different. Not every manufacturer is going to be creating the same vehicle in this case. And so there's options that we might prefer versus other options, and there might be other reasons to award. I actually brought your spreadsheet here.
I had a quick question.
Okay.
You said you have 37 responses. Is that individual dealers who respond to the RFP?
They actually have 9 respondents.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and 8 they awarded to. So a lot of these are manufacturers and dealers, but I remember seeing a state thrown in there, so I don't know what they were doing in there. Maybe they asked for a copy of the RFP, but I think overall most of them could supply a bid. Some of the things that they rate for is pricing, financial industry, marketplace successes, bidders' ability to sell, bidders' marketing plan, value-added attributes. That's probably what talks to us more. We're more interested in what is it that we need. But anyways, that's kind of it in a nutshell.
Thank you.
Thank you.
What are you going to do when you retire?
Ta-da!
There you go.
I don't know if you, Heidi has been working with me to learn purchasing, in our staff development program, and I think most of you know Heidi and her work ethic, and I think she's going to get her application in soon.
Did you have anything else to add, Craig?
No, unless you have some questions.
Anybody have any questions for anybody? Sounds to me like you both have done your due diligence, to where even though we did exactly the bid process we might normally use, we probably are getting as good, if not better deal. So, and we're getting what you want. We've got standardized methods and charts and all that, which is going to save us money. So, yeah, this sounds like a done deal with me.
I'll move that we approve a 5-year standardization renewal of sole brands of cat and case for the district's medium and heavy equipment, and approve the purchase of one 2018 case wheel loader model 721 with a detachable snow blade through Sourcewell Procurement Services bid number 032515-CN to case equipment in the amount of $212,670 plus tax.
I'll see that. Kelly took the tough one.
Yeah.
That's a mouthful.
I was glad you did it. I was looking at it thinking, I don't think I don't even I can say that.
Okay, thanks, Cliff, that's fine.
Thank you.
Number 6D, it needs a little bit more fine tuning, so that'll probably show up at our next meeting. So we'll move on to 6E. Any questions?
I move approval of payment of claims in the amount of $3,910,990.66.
Not much going on, huh? 3.9 million? That's my numbers. Okay, so we're going to move on to standing and ad hoc committee reports. On our list is the Workforce Housing Committee, which you might have just covered that to death. I don't know if there's anything else to add.
I've just been attending the meetings that I had referred to, continue to attend and listen to the conversation, get a sense of, like one of the comments was made this last time, is that the TRP Government Board is actually considering maybe starting off by maybe taking the first workforce housing project out of the chute and doing a waiver of their requirements to get the process going. I guess there's an acknowledgement of how slowly we move. That was something that we're talking about, Austin Sass report. And then the people there kind of see the dot voting. A lot of the voting was for the relaxation of some of the requirements like height, coverage, and things like that, parking spaces, that make projects undoable or just unaffordable. If you can't fit stuff enough units on the site to make it feasible.
Those are all good things.
People are talking about, I think, talking about the right stuff.
I think Dwayne's idea about us starting the ball rolling actually is panning out.
And we're a small little.
I kind of have my doubts about a lot of the things we put forth, Dwayne, but this one seems to be working out.
You know what's scary is I made a couple calls this week on a painkiller induced stupor, and I was talking to Melanie, and I was one day off.
I think I got one of those voicemails.
I was getting stuff done. Stuff was getting done.
Okay, we don't have, let's see, I don't have anything else on standing committee reports. We haven't had a meeting with the city in a little bit. I don't know when the next one's scheduled, but I think there is one scheduled.
Is it scheduled for 20?
It is for,
I believe it's September 20.
Okay.
yeah, Thursday in the morning.
In the morning. morning. Oh, that's right, said yes.
They're actually asking to move those to Thursdays, and then we don't.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with
Okay,
that.
so it's, Dwayne.
Okay, Thursday,
It's the morning of the board
Morning, the board.
and ethics training.
Oh, boy.
okay, so maybe at 9 o'clock for
9:30 for.
They requested 9:30.
And we'll be at the city office.
At city, and then
Melanie will send us an email.
11:30 back here.
11:30 here.
All right, you're all tuned up.
Do we do ethics after our board meeting?
No, before. Yeah.
Well, we're gonna give you lunch.
Well, now we're talking.
Okay, any other standing or ad hoc committee reports? El Dorado County Water Agency, I guess, has a meeting next week.
Yes.
Oh, you just had one?
No,
It's Wednesday, okay.
it's next Wednesday.
About board member.
Yeah.
Okay, do you want to jump in there, Jim? Go ahead.
Last week we had the dedication out in Alpine County, which was impressive. I think Richard and Shannon did a great job of summarizing where we are with all of that. And I got to say a couple of words there at the end about, 50 years, but this was just beginning. Now that we got the electrical three-phase line and transformers, and a lot of other things we can do, including solar and cogeneration or something. After we broke for high, whatever, desserts, John Murray, who's with Senator Feinstein's office, came up to me. He was particularly interested in the cogeneration comment that I made. Apparently, Feinstein wants to do some cogeneration projects and is instructed for staff to look for those. So, I guess Shannon's going to be talking to him, and we're, maybe in some more meetings. And in addition to that, yesterday I was over at TRPA and run into Julie Reagan, and she before I could even say anything about being over there and things, she said, "Look, John Murray is talking to me, and he's excited about doing some sort of cogeneration project." So maybe things are lining up, and there might be something that we can do over there. I know in the past, John's worked on some things. We had that meeting over there 2 summers ago, that looking at some things that you could do maybe in the cogeneration. Anyway, I think this is something we ought to follow up and look at.
I know, I thought I was a genius and thought it up, but I think 2 or 3 board member terms before me, people have thought of that, and it just makes a lot of sense. And I was always hopeful. I know Congressman Doolittle and Feinstein talked about it, but things change, presidents change. But right now, the president, according to what I hear, is looking for projects. Just give me a project. And anything shovel ready. We're not shovel ready, but we have ideas on that pipeline. And if let's say, putting in a new section of pipeline means also getting cogeneration, and somebody helps us pay for it, that's a good thing.
Jim, you were talking about talking to one of the senator's aides. I was talking to one of Colonel Harris's aides, and I was just struck by how little they know about what we do. And so that's kind of why that was a good thing. Yeah. Because we're able to, I think they literally had no idea that nobody does what we do. And so that I thought it was kind of interesting. It was a good kind of byproduct of that thing.
Well, she was out of the office here in California. They have somebody in the Washington office that really understands. He's got a good background.
Well, I was talking about Harris, not Feinstein.
Oh, I'm talking about Harris.
Oh, okay.
What's it?
I
Yeah, Kirby. We were impressed with him when we talked to him this spring when we were back there. So she's just, not here, doesn't know a lot.
Remember, she went to Washington.
I agree with it.
Okay, any other board member reports? Okay, make sure I don't skip something this time. I guess you are up next, Richard.
Yes, I wanted to just bring you up quickly up to speed on the our interactions with the Manhattan staff over the South Lake Tahoe PC contamination issue. We had a meeting, when I say we, the district staff and staff from Lukens and Tahoe Keys Water Company went over and met with Patty Conington and Doug Smith. They're two, the CEO and the assistant CEO of their group, to talk about all the parallel actions that we feel are necessary in order to protect the water supply of the South Shore in the long run. So we want to talk about the current, efforts they're having, banging on the responsible party and trying to get them to do stuff. That's a whole separate process, and since the RP is lawyered up, it's going rather slowly. And so, looking at where the supply for the South Shore comes from, basically, if you count our wells in the Tahoe area, which all lie about 4,000 feet to the northeast of the contamination area, we're talking about 75% of the water supply from the South Shore. And given the length of time that PC contamination has been in the ground and how slowly the cleanup effort is going, we felt that it was prudent to basically bring forward our perception of parallel activities to their effort to get the RP to do some cleanup work. So we talked to them about, basically helping us get resources and money from the state water board staff to start cleaning up the groundwater, do sentinel wells to indicate if contamination is heading towards our wells, or the Lukens and Tahoe Keys well that aren't contaminated yet, and to start spraying some money so that Lukens and Tahoe Keys can start either searching for a new well site or add treatment to some of their existing wells, or both. And so we felt that the reception we got, we were asking for their help on these issues rather than slapping them in the head for slow progress with DRP, that we got a good reception, very positive reaction. They've given us, rather than 5 minutes of public comment at the beginning of their next board meeting on September 13th, they're giving us 15 minutes to present the issue to their board, so that the board understands, and so we will be doing that on September 13th, 8:30 here locally.
What time?
8:30. And we have reached out and sent out a lot of that information to a lot of folks around town, asking for support in that we feel like the higher the profile of the community itself is, when we are making these asks of the board, the more impact it will have.
Where's that main building?
They have an annex behind the main building, their main office, right on Highway 50. There's an annex building behind that you got to go around the corner. So that's where their board meetings are coming.
And it's at 8:30?
It's 8:30, yeah.
I was want to call the committee meeting at the Keys this morning, so I'm very part of this for the second time, but they'll be there. Rick Robillard, I think, was going to speak.
Yeah, so we'll be speaking for 15 minutes there, and so Patty asked for some maps showing the contamination, showing where the wells are servicing, that provide 75% are located. We've given them maps. She's very happy. We're very happy with the one-page outline of the situation. She's doing it as a mail to the board. Their board will have that information ahead of time. And then she's asked for some additional information breaking down our asks to immediate, interim, and longer term, so that she can have that as speaking information. She's going to Sacramento tomorrow to meet the State Water Resources Board staff and to bring up these things, for their understanding that the two messages is, one, the community should not be looking at spending millions of dollars cleaning up contamination that none of the water companies were responsible for, and that there is an identified RP. And secondly, that consolidation is not a solution for the community's problem. This community-wide problem. Because of the potential loss, continued loss of production, just opening the interties and everything's taken care of. we think is a perception that some of the state water board staff have because of efforts, statewide efforts to consolidate a lot of these small water companies that have problems. That is not a solution for the South Tahoe community. So we want to make sure that they understand that. So that's what we provided the information by the end of today, so she can bring that to tomorrow. And then we have a follow-up meeting on the 19th to talk about the staff, continuing the discussions. So we're doing what we can here to bring the resources and to bear so that we're not faced with millions of dollars in cleanup.
You're doing the right thing, and we're doing the right thing. I think, as you know, I felt it's really important that the public be constantly reminded through Shelley. She's done a good job at it. Yourself and Shannon that's saying we are not responsible for the spill, but we are a responsible organization, and we can't allow it to go into other people's water supplies, Lucas, Keys, or ours. And I think it's responsible government to clean up that spill while they look for a responsible party or somebody who will do the work. So it just has to be done. I mean, we can stand by, but how can we look ourselves in the eye?
You know, we don't want to just stand by, and all of a sudden, several more wells go down, and we're starting to ask customers to restrict outside watering, so we can't meet peak demands. The community or the three water companies act together can't meet peak summer demands.
So because we're of a size and nature that we can help start cleaning it up, we'll go, okay, guys, there's a mess. We're sweeping, somebody grab a broom. Let's get busy. So I'm glad we're doing it. I'm a little worried about the public perception, but as long as we keep that out there, I think we'll be all right.
Yeah,
it's not us. We didn't do it. And your water's okay.
And the water that is being served by Lukens, by the Talkies, and by us is meeting drinking water standards. And that's our primary aim. And so we're looking down the road saying nothing else is done. Yeah, 5 years from now, there may be a real problem. All of a sudden, we get a couple of hits. The Lukens well, there's a couple more hits. The Talkies well has to go off. And all of a sudden, we're in a total emergency. Now we're in a situation where some of the communities in the Central Valley are in already, and why the state was beating the drum for a water tax and doing all these things to try to come up with some more money. But we don't want to wait till things are an emergency and people can't drink the water coming out of the tap.
So, just two things to follow up on that. I was in Sacramento yesterday for a water conservation meeting, had a chance to meet with Congressman McClintock's office, with Rocky Deal, and they're all in support of us, and they see their role more once if this does go to EPA and becomes federal, but they're looking to potentially send somebody up to be in support of us at the September 13th meeting. Also met with Assemblymember Bigelow's office, and they're planning to send somebody up. And in talking with McClintock's office, they're going to put a little pressure on Gaines' office. They had indicated that Senator Gaines' office indicated that they are looking to have somebody up here. Their chief of staff, his name is Titus, actually has a place in North Lake Tahoe, and so they think he may be up here. So we're hoping to get them in the room on September 13th with them. I can't remember. I'm not sure. So the other piece of that is before we have that meeting on the 13th, we'll make sure we get you the updated copies of what was sent to Patty with the ask and the dollar amounts, so that you can have that in your back pocket if you want to attend that meeting, or if you end up getting inquired from anybody else about what we're asking for. That's all I have.
Any questions or comments on it?
I'll promise here, I thought her article about it was very accurate. Which is unusual for she did that. Well, no, that's not for Paul. No, I didn't mean mean it that way. It's very unusual to take such complicated, and it's really a complicated issue, and to sort through it and go, this is who's responsible, this is what must be done, this is who's doing it, these guys need to be doing it, but okay, these guys are doing it. So I thought it was well done. Okay.
And the other, I just wanted to.
Yeah, is there an update on that?
Well, the update is that, this is the asbestos case, that I really wanted an update on. Our staff continue to spend a lot of time sifting through records and assembling records, and at some point, probably a whole bevy of attorneys are going to come to the district office and rifle through plans and specs and reports and any information we have on our system, because we had I think I mentioned the last time that we had a past employee has been diagnosed with asbestosis. He's 80 years old. He worked here from 1976 to 1990, and so they're looking to make a connection back to the suppliers. Not so the district isn't being sued ourselves, because he was our employee. So that effort's continuing, and so at some point we will probably have to be questioned on our filings and all the other information we have about asbestos. So remember, probably over half of both our water and sewer distribution and collection systems is asbestos pipe. So that's my update. Tim has.
Yeah, I didn't say Tim's up next.
Just real quick, we'll give you an update on the amount of money that we turned over tax roll delinquent accounts. As you remember, on July 19th, we brought to the board to turn over $456,000. And then when we closed that out on August the 3rd, we actually turned over $369,000. So we collected $87,000 during that time period. I just want to talk briefly, just to give you a little history, since I got here back in 2010. When I first did my tax roll in 2011, we were at like $570,000. So we really put a lot of work into it to make it better and to bring that amount low. Even though I know $369,000 is still high, it comes down to, the bill comes delinquent, we send out notices. On an average, we'll send out 1,000 to 1,200 delinquent notices every quarter. And so, by the time we work, we might get about half of those payments in during that time period. So when those come in, that does bring it down, but you still have other people out there that need to be served with door notices and possibly to be shut off for being delinquent, which we don't have that kind of time or that kind of staff in place right now. We do have help from our meter technician back in the spacious department, but with so many other projects going on right now, such as the meter project, the maintenance on the meters, the towers, and everything else, it takes a lot of time, and we just can't get to that part of the process just yet. So, talking to you today, I just want to bring up one other thing. Since we're going into another 5-year Prop 218, and this actually kind of fit in well with today's agenda, since we're talking about affordable housing and workforce housing. As we're going into looking at raising rates here in the next 5 years, on average, average residential customer pays almost $300 a quarter for their bill, the water and sewer bill. When it comes time to pay that, and they don't pay it, when we send out another bill, all of a sudden there's $600 in the hole. We're starting with a delinquent notice. And so when we finally get a chance to talk to these folks, it's, they can pay $100. They can pay $50 or they can pay whatever. The last thing we want to resort to is turn somebody's water off, which is basically a new bill that the state has come out with that's getting ready to pass.
they basically wrote a one-size-fits-all for all utility districts or water purveyors. Basically, just see it's a horrible bill. It just basically says that you gotta do everything you can not to shut it off, no matter what. You gotta give them 60-day notice, then you gotta give them 7 more, then you gotta give them 5. I know you're already 72 days into the quarter, you know, and so by the time they pay 1 quarter, they're already behind another. We could be 2 or 3 quarters into this before we finally collect 1 quarter's worth of services. So I would like to just propose at some point in time, if it's possible, if we could take a step back and look at maybe different types of billing processes. I know we've talked a little bit in the past about looking at monthly billing, and that was going to be expensive. But I think if we shop around and try really hard at this, that we can bring those costs down. Because it is a whole lot easier for me to collect $100 a month than it is $300 on the quarter.
From a business standpoint, I thought a lot about that, and we got this amount out there, and that amount out there is because of this kind of billing. If we went to monthly billing, would we collect more of that, which would offset the cost of going to monthly?
Or at least partially offset.
Partially offset is more the word.
It would partially offset.
And I'm not against that, because I've had people say, you know, I can plan for all my bills, but this quarterly bill kind of throws me off. For some reason, I just can't seem to work that into my monthly calendar. So it's always kind of a surprise and sort of an irritation.
Well, that's kind of creative, you know, when Heidi was talking to me earlier, Heidi Drum was talking about, 21% of the folks in the neighborhood can afford a medium or medium price house in town. We're dealing with calls now that people say, I can pay you $50 because they get a mess. I gotta take my kid to the doctor, I gotta go, whatever. We've all got excuses. I'm not saying that that's, that should affect anything because we're supposed to collect the bill, but it is a fact that's going on out there. People are having a tough time. And if we can ease that burden, that hardship on the customer by maybe going and looking at a monthly bill, it would also fall in line with how they pay their other bills, such as their gas or their electricity or water, and cable.
What should we target?
Well, last time
I ran the numbers last time, and it basically triples our billing costs.
It does triple our billing costs.
Yeah.
Like I say, if we could take a step back and look and really shop around.
But you mentioned about shopping around, maybe there's a way that it doesn't triple.
Right.
You're saying.
And just for instance, I called a couple of resources that I had known back several years ago. We're paying $1.50 for like an ACH transaction, $250 charge for a credit card transaction. I just made a few calls just to see what people had to say. And one company I called says, well, we do 50 cents for ACH and $1.50 for a credit card transaction.
Well, and the other thing is there's an awful lot of companies that the user pays the transaction fee if they want to use the credit card.
Right.
And while I take advantage of the prepay on the credit card, I get it. I think there probably should be, that fee should be passed on.
Yeah, and that's fine. But I mean, that's something that we can look at. If we can shop around and get the cost low enough, it might be, we can set a limit on how much we can collect that before we put that charge on there.
Well, what was that, 2-3 years ago you looked into this?
Yeah, actually, Tim ran the numbers on that. The largest portion of the additional cost is just the printing and mailing.
Right.
There's no way to get out of that. And then the credit cards just go up because you're going from 4 transactions a year on the person using their card to 12. And they charge by transaction. It's not a percentage of the bill. It's a flat dollar amount. Yeah. Otherwise, if it was a percentage, it wouldn't impact the cost. But one thing we are intending to do as part of the rate study process is incorporate those costs into the study just so you can see what, if any, kind of impact there is to future rates by adding those costs in.
I was against it just because I didn't want to raise rates just to pay for that.
Yeah.
But it is a good point that if people can't handle that 3 times the payment, the 2 items they can handle one. I mean, we collect more money, we collect more money.
Yeah, we wouldn't probably improve cash flow, but also just to give you a heads up, in the last California AD survey that was done, there were 124 purveyors in there. And there was 122 that billed monthly and bi-monthly, plus one that billed annually, which was a homeowners association. And there was one that billed quarterly, and that was us. So,
Really?
yes.
Have we talked about what's the possibility of when we send mail around, if we send 3 bills and 3 envelopes, that they, like the property tax does with 2?
Or with coupons, that's what.
Yeah, with coupons, so that they mail back the coupon with payment or a call.
You know, instead of doing that, Richard, I just say go back to a postcard. So everybody just gets that one bill, they see that one bill a month. Because right now what they're doing is when you get their quarterly bill, they're saying, oh, this is going to be for 3 more months. They throw it over the corner. And then 3 months later, they're late, you pay it, and then they're begging you to waive penalties. And I can waive penalties once in a 3-year period. According to the new law that's getting ready to come out, it kind of goes into effect April of 2020, I have to waive penalties once every 12 months. Instead of once every 3 years.
And that's our ordinance?
That's going to be in accordance with state law.
Is that some of the legislature at this point?
It's passed, the council has gone through.
And it's going to get signed, right?
But the presumption is it'll be signed.
Okay.
Percentage of pay by envelope transaction. You have that number? Like how many people pay without? And do they go paperless after that?
About 5,400 people.
Okay, so roughly a third.
Yeah.
And now those, do they still get paper bills?
Some of them do.
But you can waive the paper bill if you don't want it.
You can.
We could offer to waive the fee if they went paperless.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to look at it.
I mean, I think a lot of people are going more paperless. I think really people that did get away. Like I said before, I was against it because I didn't want to pass that cost on, but actually we might be good. I mean,
And I mean, the thing about it is, it's just a new bill, it becomes harder to collect it. I mean, if we went, like I said, to a monthly process, everybody's got $100, but nobody has 300, you know? So,
Mr. Schaefer, did you have a comment?
You don't go to that system, I would advocate going to the billing due date of the 15th or the 20th, so that if a credit card or online payment fails, people have a chance to fix it before the end of the month and not move into the next quarter and have a problem for the next month. Having it at the end of the month just creates problems for users, because if they find out, you know, they had a credit card company change their number because it got compromised somewhere, and then it didn't go through the district, it just causes additional work for customer service. Have people calling and say, oh gee, I'm sorry, you know, let's run it through a different card, everything else. So I'd advocate moving the payment date sometime middle of the month so that people have a chance to get things squared during the month.
Yeah, good ideas.
Let's have a finance committee meeting.
Yeah, let's look into it. I think we might have tried to be able to do some of this.
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, is there anything else from staff reports you want to have before we move on?
Yes, there is.
Yes, okay.
Hi guys, how you doing? So I'm here today to inform you guys about re-roofing at Fountain Shop. After the last thunderstorm we had basically showering in the shop in our break room. So we went up there, inspected it ourselves and see if we could make a repair or something. We found it was in desperate need of just replacing. So I contacted several roof contractors in town. Only got one back, or one guy responded back. Happened so they're the only ones actually that do the hot mopping too, was DORADO Roofing at Oracle. Got quotes from them, and Richard Krugman, and that was just for the replacing of the roof. Once they removed the roof itself, they found the plywood was quite in bad shape and needed to be replaced. And I've got photographs when I went up there. As you can see, the damage to the plywood. Yeah, and I almost fell through the roof myself when I was up there. But as well as once they removed the plywood, they found there was severe dry rot underneath on the, I don't know the lingo of the terms, the rafters, or, but you can see on the third picture here, in the upper right-hand corner, or excuse me, left-hand corner, the dry rot on the rafters. The contractor did say he was surprised the roof hadn't come down on us over the last winter. At that point, I got with Linda Brown, discussed it with her, and she said at this point you just basically move on. At the time before we found this out, I had quotes of almost 15,000 for the shop roof, and another 5,100 for the storeroom roof. The storeroom looks good. It looks like it's only a sheet or two of plywood that may need replaced. I did inform Richard as well. He actually told me how he just went through the same thing with his house. So we were proceeding with the replacement, and actually they're not replacing the rafters. They're actually supporting with they're screwing wood to it.
You just got one up?
Yes, they're sistering them.
Are you doing the whole roof, or just the ones?
The ones that definitely need to be repaired.
Just take something sharp and push it through. You'll be able to tell which ones.
Yeah, they started Friday, and they're almost done today. These guys are getting supplied. So they did do several of them. The problem I'm having is Tina, once it went from the roof replacement to plywood and repair of the eaves or the rafters. So the cost is going to definitely go up beyond to where it possibly did that before. It could have been a board approval type of. So I'm just here to inform you of what's going on.
And to be done.
The building's going to be close to 60 years old.
Yeah, it's too bad it didn't leak earlier so you could find the problem before all the dry rot happened.
Yeah,
right? I mean, that's
It's really on for years.
It's definitely torched. I mean, I think that's the original roof from the original, when it was built.
60 years ago.
Yeah.
I could get a picture.
Excuse me? Is this building worth keeping?
As far as the pump screw is concerned, it is.
We've been through that before, but is that building service?
At this time, with the roof being repaired, I'm going to have to do some painting because we did replace the fascia as well. It's worth the cause.
That question, we hope to answer when we do our facilities master plan here. We're looking at the lower shops, and there's some drainage issues, some maintenance needs and repair needs down there as well. So in our capital program, we have the lower shops facilities plan as part of that. And one of the things we will look at under that study will be, should we bring the pump screw back over to this facility, and we'll look at those buildings and the expected in the future maintenance of those as well. Not what the pump screw wants to hear, but
the pump screw actually enjoys the dynamics of being outside. It's actually nice.
It's probably not much more than a reduction. Yeah, that was 25,000.
Because you have so many buildings.
Yeah, you're right. Then I also have two other routes we're redoing. I have Tahoe, Wooster, and after seeing this, I would be surprised if we're doing the same thing. And also we should,
Okay, share the part of the city problems, let me know, come by and look at it.
okay, sounds good. Anything else?
You're not gonna get free advice too many places, but you can get it right here.
I'll take advantage of it, you know it. All right, thank you for your time. You're sweating before.
Okay, anything else before we move into our closed session stuff? So if I understand this right, Gary, what we want to do is we want to do JM first. We'll come out of closed session. In open session, we'll make our motion on JM, then we'll go back in the closed session again. Is that correct? Okay, so let's take a couple minute break before we go into closed session round. You're there? Okay. We are coming out of closed session. We're in the open session. We have an item that we're going to make a motion on.
We want to open the door, just.
Oh, yeah, open the door, Gary.
Oh, thank you.
Let the record show that the door is being opened.
I am an attorney.
At $350 an hour.
Yeah.
Can I say it too low, $500 an hour?
That costs $50. I don't know, it's because you said extra one store.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll just read that.
Yeah, I move approval of resolution number 3093-18, establishing a reserve fund for repair or replacement of PVC pipe manufactured by JM Manufacturing Company Incorporated, and approves resolution number 3093-18, establishing a reserve fund for the repair or replacement of PVC pipe manufactured by JM Manufacturing Company Incorporated.
Second.
You want a voice vote, or is this going to get just read? Okay.
Yes. Well, I'm not sure if we're gonna get that money right away, because they're probably gonna feel it, it's probably gonna be pennies on the dollar.
Yeah. But at least we have a place.
Or they can file bankruptcy.
Well, we got 130,000 lineal feet, which is about $32 million to replace it, so.
And like I said, they can go bankrupt and become another company with all kinds of ways.
I'm sure they've hit a lot of money.
Okay, that passed 5-0. So now, before we go into closed session, we have to settle out who goes into closed session. There are 3 of us on this board that have conflicts and have to recuse on the next item. Unfortunately, that means that we will not have a quorum, so it doesn't work. So believe it or not, I am told that the rule is a game of chance.
Oh, seriously?
No, seriously. Yeah.
So first, I'd like each of you that have the conflicts just to state as on the record what your conflict is.
And how much money?
Okay, I'll start on this. This is regarding existing litigation in El Dorado County Superior Court, Preston Development versus Big 6 Tahoe LLC et al. And I was a structural engineer. My client is the owners of the building, Mike McKean and John Cephalou. So that's why I am conflicted.
Nice segue from what I read. My dad is the partner with Mike McKean in the building, which rents to 6.
And my son-in-law is down Preston, who is Preston Development, and he built the building, he constructed the building for the Mr. McKean and Mr. Cephalou, and he also did the tenant improvements. And my husband is a painting contractor who did the painting for the tenant improvements. But my husband has been paid, and all,
Yeah, I got so. See, I thought the rule would be the most conflicted sits out, so I think Kelly would definitely be out.
Mine is just a question. John Cephalou is a friend of our family, and my wife told me a couple days ago, before I knew about this, that
Mr. Sutton plans on having a fundraiser for her at a location called Big Six. So I don't think that's I don't know if that's
I don't think you get out of that.
I just wanted to play Rochambeau.
Sure.
Yeah.
What happens here is, we've worked with Melanie, looking at your factual situations, and we agree that it's improper for each of you to recuse yourself from participating in discussions on this litigation, which means you're disqualified for purposes of a quorum at the meeting. You can't be counted. So that creates a dilemma, as Randy said. We have 2 board members left. You can't have a valid meeting without at least 3. So there is, the government code has what is called the rule of necessity. And that is, if you need a quorum to take some action on behalf of the board that isn't the result of someone being absent, it's not a tie. In this case, you've all, recused yourself. There is a procedure to put one of the disqualified board members back on the board for discussion, for participation in this matter. And everyone always has the same reaction. Well, isn't the one with the least disqualification? No, it's every one of us is disqualified has to participate in a random process to put one board member back on for discussion purposes. You can, I don't know if any of you got some dice in your pockets. We have to.
Yeah, I'm gonna go through that test.
I would prefer a deck of cards.
We have tickets.
Okay, we're gonna get tickets.
You probably know how to.
All right, before we start, what are the tickets? What's on the tickets?
Susan, one out.
Okay.
Hello.
You're in. Okay.
Wait.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, so they each have equal.
This is fun.
You need to be involved.
We think we should do this for all of us.
We're not when this happens. Probably almost never.
I told Rich, I've never had this happen before. Small town, and so.
We had it happened once years ago, I can't remember what it was on.
And so each of them are doing equal possibility of being able to participate, or continue the disqualification. That's a requirement. Choosing a lot like this is a fine way to do it.
All right, well, there we go.
So when this video comes up, you guys have to remember to explain what you guys are doing here.
We're opening them.
Oh, yeah, open them up.
Yeah, because then you would take them away like him.
Randy, I have a feeling he would police me.
All right.
Okay, ready?
We got the all.
1, 2, 3.
Ah, jeez.
Hang on, you guys are out of here.
You gave me no choice because you picked it.
I don't know why they didn't sue you.
Okay, so, sit down on the front porch.
I'll see you guys. Once again, we are going from open session into closed session. In open session, and we're reporting that we are hiring Brownstein to represent us in this matter. Meeting adjourned.